Why do we drink milk? Milk is the foundation of the postnatal diet of all mammals. That's because our digestive system is immature, smaller. Basically, milk activates our body's energy foods that help us grow. Milk is rich in fat, vitamins, minerals, and lactose. In addition to that, for a period of time after the birth of a baby, milk also contains antibodies and protein, can protect us from infection, and regulate our immune system. But to produce milk, it requires a lot of effort from the mother. Eventually humans will stop drinking breast milk and turn to the parent's diet. For thousands of years, that's always been the case. Until about 11,000 years ago, our ancestors settled in the first agricultural societies. Soon, they domesticated the first dairy animals, goats, sheep, and cattle. They discovered that dairy animals can eat useless and abundant food and turn it into nutritious and delicious food. This has a huge impact on survival, especially during difficult times. Therefore, the group with the milk supply has the purification advantage. Through natural selection, he changed his attitude towards drinking a lot of milk. Genes of a population. This adaptation, it's about a particular enzyme, lactase. Babies have lots of lactase, so they were able to break down the lactose in the milk. Easy to digest milk. But as I get older, we're producing less and less lactase. About 65% of the world's population, it's lost after infancy. This means they can't digest it every day. More than 150 milliliters of milk. However, lactose intolerance, it's not evenly distributed around the world. For example, in some East Asian communities, the incidence of lactose intolerance is as high as 90%. In Northern Europe and North America, the incidence of lactose intolerance is the lowest overall, causing this uneven distribution. There could be several reasons. This trait was originally introduced by random mutations. These mutations are in a small number of people, occurs independently of each other. Agriculture gradually replaced hunting and gathering. This generates natural selection pressure. People who can digest lactose, more food on hand. That's an advantage. The migration of dairy farmers to the north, spreading the trait further. This may be a population that does not have this trait, pushed back north. Okay, but if milk has been around for thousands of years, it has always been a valuable part of our diet. Why is he so controversial? The positive and negative effects of milk on health. There are many theories. Negative effects cover all aspects, from osteoporosis to cancer, from cardiovascular diseases to intolerances and allergies. So, how do these claims hold up? Some earlier studies found that milk and breast cancer, colon cancer, and a higher risk of prostate cancer. But a meta-analysis found that milk has no effect on cancer risk. On the contrary, calcium in milk, it may even have a protective effect against colon cancer, although this may be related to calcium. But does milk play a role in this effect? I don't know. Only studies on prostate cancer show that people who drink more than 1/4 liter of milk per day, cancer risk increases. But again, this correlation is inconsistent. Other studies also found no impact. We will provide more information in the references. Discuss these studies in detail. So let's just say that research seems to suggest that if you drink 100 to 250 milliliters of milk per day, cancer is not a big problem. The same meta-analysis did not find milk or dairy products for heart disease, any impact on stroke or overall mortality. Some studies even suggest that people who consume a lot of dairy products, the risk of developing high blood pressure may be lower. Tube. There's not enough evidence to make a happy assertion. However, when we look at the bones, it gets more complicated. Some studies have found that milk or dairy products for adults, neither positive, no negative effects. But most people worry about pesticides, harmful levels of antibiotics or hormones. Milk does contain hormones, but the concentration is very low. For example, to obtain the same dose of hormones as birth control pills, you need to drink around 5,000 liters of milk. And even if you drink most hormones before it affects you, destroyed by your digestive system. This is why many drugs all have been treated with medical care to prevent digestion and absorption. For pesticides and antibiotics, most of the world has laws. Only completely harmless doses are allowed. Milk exceeding these limits is not allowed on the shelves. So there's nothing in particular to worry about, except for allergies and lactose intolerance. The most well-known negative effects of milk could be acne and drinking milk, or general discomfort after eating dairy products. And these negative effects are real. For example, statistics show that skim milk increases the risk of acne by 24%. Dairy allergies are particularly prevalent in children. For every 18 children in Germany, one has a dairy allergy. Yeah, but, generally speaking, these allergy symptoms, it gets better with age, or disappear okay. So, is milk healthy? Milk comes from cows, cow, sheep, goat or camel. It is a nutritious food. It contains all the essential macronutrients, and many micronutrients, especially in those difficult to get enough calorie. Milk contributes to a healthy life, reduce child mortality, for people living in developed countries. Generally speaking, if you are not allergic or intolerant to milk, milk is harmless, especially for children. Milk is a great way to get a lot of calcium. And for vegetarians, milk is a source of vitamins B12 and B, a good source of vitamins. This doesn't mean that there are no other alternatives that have the same effect. You don't need to drink milk to stay healthy. Milk can never replace water. Milk is an energy food. Drink a lot of milk regularly. Additional calorie intake can lead to overweight, especially flavored or chocolate milk. It's not so much a healthy snack. It's more like a drink like lemonade. There's another thing to consider. Milk production has a significant impact on the global climate. About 33% of farmland is used for rearing, grazing animals, including cows. Although since 1990, carbon footprint in dairy products has declined. But dairy production, it still accounts for 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions, even more than the total emissions of all aircraft. Milk is a huge industry. Sadly, the majority of milk production on factory farms caused unbelievable pain. Cows are repeatedly impregnated. She was separated from her cubs shortly after birth, and in their tortured bodies, can't be regenerated, slaughtered after giving birth. We cannot ignore the majority of the milk we consume all come from an essentially torture and industries that exacerbate climate change. What about plant-based milk? In terms of protein content and nutritional value, only soy milk can rival milk. Other milks require artificial fortification to achieve similar vitamin and calcium levels, so they can be a substitute for milk. And another option may soon become available. Some startups have developed business models. Non-animal milk with the same nutrients as cow's milk. Fermentation through genetically modified bacteria. For example, this lab-grown milk. You can even make cheese. Plant-based milk alternatives are more difficult to achieve because they lack casein and whey protein. And these two key ingredients give dairy products unique flavor and structure. The environmental impact, however, is another matter. The energy required for the production of many milk substitutes. There's less land and less water. Therefore, the impact of animals on the environment in remote areas. If you want to minimize any negative impact on the planet, then the best choice, it's any regional alternative to milk. Like almost all topics, milk itself is also very complex. It's harmless to most people, and for many people around the world, are crucial. They're delicious, nutritious food, but it's also harmful to the planet and causes a lot of suffering. As a society, we need to decide what to do about it.